Welcome. My name is Dr. Deborah Joy Perez, Assistant Vice President for Research and Evaluation at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Welcome to the Diversity Matters podcast series. Diversity and inclusion are core values of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, reflected in our principles. We value differences among individuals across multiple dimensions, including, but not limited to, race, ethnicity, age, gender, sexual orientation, physical ability, religion, and socioeconomic status. We believe that the more we include diverse perspectives and experiences in our work, the better able we are to help all Americans live healthier lives and get the care they need. In service to our mission, we pledge to promote these values in the work we do and to reflect on our progress regularly. Now I'd like to introduce you to the podcast host, Jacinta Goda, who is the Diversity Liaison for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's Human Capital Team.
Hello, I'm Jacinta Goda, your host for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's Diversity Matters podcast series. In these conversations, we talk with funders and grant makers, leaders, and subject matter experts about practical ways of recruiting candidates from underrepresented groups to positions and fellowships in philanthropy. I invite all of our listeners to become members of the Diversity Matters online community and to join this conversation on diversity and inclusion. Our guests today are Dr. Christine Bachrach, National Co-Director of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Health and Society Scholars Program, and Gerard Labita, Health and Society Scholars Deputy Director. HSS is built on the principle that progress in the field of population health depends upon multidisciplinary collaboration and exchange. HSS provides 2 years of support to postdoctoral scholars at all stages of their careers so that they can help to build the nation's capacity for research and leadership and address the causes of population health and contribute to health policy. Today, we talk with our guests about the importance of diversity and inclusion at HSS. We will learn some of the practical measures they are taking to increase diversity and inclusion among scholars, institutions, and disciplines. One such practical measure is the HSS Technical Assistance website. We will learn why and how they built it and how it is working for them so far. Christine and Gerard, welcome to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's Diversity Matters podcast. We'll start with you, Dr. Bachrach. Please tell us a little more about Health and Society Scholars.
I'd be glad to, Jacinta. The program was founded in the early 2000s to develop a pool of talented scholars with the skills to address problems in population health. As a field, population health examines the broad range of factors that affect health in and among population groups, social and economic factors, the built environment, not just the provision of health care. The program enlists a group of scholars drawn from many different disciplines: public health, economics, sociology, biology, psychology, urban planning, and more. It trains them to reach beyond their own disciplinary boundaries to conduct collaborative research that can effectively address population health. For example, if we want to address the national rise in obesity, we need people who know how to study the biology of obesity, nutritional and exercise behaviors, economic and social influences on those behaviors, and what causes the physical and social environment to change over time. Combining these types of expertise through interdisciplinary scholarship can identify novel ways of improving population health. The program will enroll its 10th cohort of scholars next fall, reaching a total of 169 scholars. There are 6 program sites: Columbia, Harvard, University of California, University of Michigan, University of Pennsylvania, and the University of Wisconsin.
Thank you, Dr. Bachrach, for that overview. Diversity and inclusion seems to be important to HSS. Tell us why.
Well, diversity and inclusion are important issues for all research enterprises because how a researcher approaches a research question is inevitably influenced by his or her life experience and training. It's important to involve people who bring different perspectives to the table. It's especially important in the field of population health for two reasons. First, the issue of health disparities is central to research in population health. Why are some population groups less healthy than others, and what can be done to reduce disparities? Recruiting scientists from underrepresented groups into this area of research is vital. Second, as we talked about before, population health research requires the collaboration of people with different kinds of academic and professional training. So we also need diversity along disciplinary lines.
Thank you. Gerard, tell us about some of the challenges of attracting postdocs from underrepresented groups and institutions and disciplines, and about any specific steps you've taken to address some of these challenges.
Well, many people hear about these programs through established traditional networks, and these traditional networks, by definition, often miss members of underrepresented groups. This means that we have to redouble our efforts to use those less traditional networks and mechanisms that can lead us to candidates from underrepresented groups and to people in disciplines that have the potential to contribute to population health research, but that have maybe not done so in the past. Once we've attracted an applicant, we rigorously assess that person's research qualifications and leadership capacity, as we must do for all candidates. But we also need to think broadly about the potential of bringing a new perspective or a new body of knowledge into the mix.
I see. Let's talk about one particular diversity and inclusion tool, the Technical Assistance website. Tell us more about this initiative and what exactly is it and why did HSS develop it?
Right. The Technical Assistance website, which we call the User's Guide to the HSS Application, can be found on the Apply tab of the Health and Society Scholars.org website. It's an extension of the website that was developed to provide individuals interested in the HSS program with advice and assistance that can help them submit a successful application. Because our program receives more than 300 applications a year, this past year, 321 applications for just 12 positions, we're unable to provide personalized advice to everyone. So we see this extension of the website as a way to direct applicants onto the right path right from the start. And the site is also used as a marketing tool. It provides more detailed information about the program and the application process to individuals and institutions who may not have much experience in applying to programs like this. And as a result, our program then has the potential to increase our geographic and institutional diversity.
Thank you. The technical assistance you provide is comprehensive. How did you decide on the content? Can you tell us what specific guidance you're giving on the site?
Well, a key upfront issue was developing material that would help potential applicants understand what population health is. The last thing we want is for an applicant to expend his or her energies in applying for the program when that applicant's interests are not a match for us. So we enlisted our 6 sites to help us in vetting our description and in helping to nominate some representative publications from the field. We also wanted to clarify eligibility criteria guided by our past experience of having applicants having questions about eligibility. Beyond this, the content was guided pretty much by what the application demanded of potential applicants.
Right. Some parts of the application were pretty straightforward. Anyone who could develop a CV could complete them. So for these parts, we mainly strove to identify areas in which clarification and elaboration could be helpful, and then to encourage people to describe their accomplishments they may not otherwise think to include, like leadership activities outside the academic setting or presentations given in national meetings. In other parts of the application, applicants from institutions without a great deal of experience in advising postdoctoral candidates might need more than just clarification. They might need coaching on how to address these questions. For example, how do you decide whom to ask to write a recommendation for you? What do recommenders need to be able to convey about your strengths? Another example would be how best to develop the two essays that the applicants are asked to write. These have a profound influence on the reviewers' impressions. And we try to explain what reviewers would be looking for in these essays and identify common problems and alternative approaches that can be successful.
Yes, and then finally, we provided more general advice on how to approach the application. Start early, look carefully at the evaluation criteria, think about your strengths and how you'll convey them, and have others review the application for you and make suggestions for strengthening it. And we hammered on the details. If you're still working in a job, make this clear rather than just giving the beginning month and year. Make sure you proofread and edit your essays. Keep track of the deadlines. We don't grant extensions, and we make that clear. In all of this, institutional knowledge, things like familiarity with channels and procedures and knowledge of how to make the best use of available resources can be very important for an applicant. Of course, this technical assistance site is available for everyone, but for a candidate who doesn't have access to the kind of institutional knowledge that helps with the application process, the information that the site offers can be very valuable. We hope that this can make a difference in reaching members of underrepresented groups and promoting diversity.
Thank you so much, Christine and Gerard, for giving us such detail. What resources does it take to have this added feature on a main website? Financial, staffing, time?
Primarily time. We began the development process late in 2009 and didn't launch until the summer of 2011. For this project, the staff commitment consisted of one of the national program co-directors as well as the deputy director. But we also wanted to be sure to include the perspective of all those involved in reviewing and selecting candidates. So the continuous input of our National Advisory Committee and of our site directors throughout was required. In addition, we had to allow time for the creative path to go through any potential changes as we learned what was and what wasn't working about our selected goals. Then we went through a major change of focus midway through, so that led to an almost complete overhaul of our project. Other than that, the funds are required to design and create the website pages.
Thank you. Were there any concerns about launching the site? If so, how did you address them, and how did you publicize the site?
Well, let me speak to the issue of concerns. When you create a document like this, you always run the risk of implying something that isn't consistent with the application materials themselves. We needed to review our work very carefully to make sure we were not confusing applicants, nor somehow changing what the application was asking. We debated how to do this for a while and ended up adding some language to the site. The language said that the application itself details all formal requirements for completing an application, and that the supplementary information provided was designed to be helpful but shouldn't take precedence over instructions provided in the application.
Right, and the site is first publicized on the main page of our HSS website and then on the main section of the application itself as well. And this year, we're also planning on including a reference to the site in our annual marketing letter that goes out to academic institutions.
Thank you. Given that the website has only been up for a short time, what results are you seeing from your efforts?
Well, in a post-application survey that we initiated, about 79% of those who completed the survey said that they used the user's guide to the application, and about 99% of those felt it was very helpful. And we've also noticed that the site has greatly reduced the number of questions that we receive in the National Program Office about the application and the program in general. And this has led us to believe that the information in the user's guide to the application, in addition to the rest of our website, allowed interested individuals to really get a clear picture of the program and what we're looking for. And we also began to see a number of applications come in from members of underrepresented groups. So now we'll be able to review just how far in the process those candidates went, which will help us refine the user's guide to the application and our outreach efforts going forward. And the site is available to everyone, and following its instructions can certainly increase chances for success of any candidate's application. We believe that the site will particularly be helpful to those who need some extra coaching and information. And as I mentioned earlier, we're unable to give individual application critiques to everyone, so to be fair, we don't give any individual critiques to anyone. But again, this site is a way to level that playing field a bit.
Promising results.
Yeah.
How can advisory councils and board members or other institutional officers help with diversity and inclusion?
Well, we ask our National Advisory Committee to help publicize the program, and we do have a diverse committee. So this diversity means that we have a way to tap into networks to which we might otherwise not have access. We want to put all of our resources to work when it comes to recruiting from underrepresented groups, so engaging our NAC is a natural strategy.
Thank you. I can imagine that confidence is important when people are presenting themselves as candidates for the first time in an application process. How do you set out to build such confidence in candidates?
Well, applicants' confidence in the application process starts with transparency, I think, and this was one of the goals of the site. We wanted to be sure that applicants understood exactly what we meant by population health. We wanted to be clear about eligibility, what we needed to learn from recommenders, what goes into a successful application, and what the application process involves. Applicants need to feel that they have adequate information, that it's a fair process, and that they understand it.
Thank you. As we come to the close of today's discussion, what advice would you give to any listeners who may be interested in developing a technical assistance website?
Well, I'd say examine your institutional mission and goals and think about what you need to do to advance them. Be clear about the role diversity and inclusion play in what you do. Give yourself plenty of time and enlist many pairs of eyes to review what you've written from many different perspectives. I think this can help ensure that the website is helpful to the applicants you're trying to reach. Also, I'd say make sure that the site is available. It's publicized on all your program promotional materials and websites. Remind members of your National Advisory Committee and other interested groups and networks of the site, and ask them to help make it known to potential applicants. We've been very encouraged by the response we've seen to the user's guide, and we believe that it will prove to be a powerful tool for advancing our commitment to diversity and inclusion at the Health and Society Scholars Program. We're going to be continuing to analyze feedback from the site and use that feedback to constantly retool it and make it even more effective. I think it's safe to say that genuine diversity and inclusion is not easy to achieve, but it's essential to what we do. So anything that helps us get there is very valuable to us.
Thank you for that. And Christine and Gerard, on behalf of all of the members of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's Diversity Matters online community, thank you for your valuable insights and for sharing with us how the HSS program is working to increase diversity and inclusion among its scholars, institutions, and disciplines.
Jacinta, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk about the program.
Yes, thank you.
I'm Jacinta Goda, inviting all members of the Diversity Matters community to join the conversation. As a community member, you can download this podcast or request a one-page summary of today's discussion. You can post your comments and questions, as well as tips about diversity and inclusion and the measures that you're taking that may be helpful to other organizations and other listeners. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're not a member of the Diversity Matters community, please take a moment to join today at community.rwjf.org so that you can participate in the conversation. I'd like to remind all of our listeners to sign up for the notifications for our next podcast in the series on practical ways to increase diversity and inclusion in philanthropy and healthcare. Thank you for listening.